If people were given the ability to have one singular power, I'm sure there would be a good amount that would choose super strength, speed, maybe the ability to control time, and of course, the ability to fly. While some people took it upon themselves and made that man-made flight a reality, others took to movies to showcase their interpretation of it. Whether by powers, pets, or planes, I want to take a look at some of the different ways flight is depicted. What I like to look for are their characters' expressions, their movements, and the overall depiction. So without further ado, let's take a look at the first example. One of the greatest movie surprises in the past few years, Top Gun Maverick ascends to new heights in film. This movie, alongside Everything Everywhere All at Once, were my favorite movies of 2022, although I don't think there was too much competition. A huge reason I love this movie comes down to the practicality of the flight scenes. In an age of overused CGI, I'm looking at you, Disney. It's a breath of fresh air to see practical effects on the big screen. Them planes really be flying. But Top Gun Maverick takes one extra step to add to the realism of these scenes. Having the jets flying by would have been enough for me personally, but they decided to add another layer by actually filming the actors in midair. These actors would sit in the back seat while highly trained experts would fly the plane in the front. It's one thing to watch an actor act out flying through blazing speed. It's another thing entirely to watch an actor actually experience all those G's. It allows for us audience members to have this visceral connection with the characters on the screen. Now, it's not even the planes going fast that I like the most. Well, I do like that part. But the part I'm talking about is seeing the actors' portrayals of going that speed that makes the movie feel more grounded and personal than just seeing random planes in the sky. Real life is covered with clunkiness and imperfection, and these flight scenes are filled with them, but that's a good thing. From the grunting, to the head jerking back and forth when changing directions, to the faces that would rival those of Tobey Maguire, these imperfections add to the realism of the scenes that I feel CGI can't capture as easily. Take a look at Captain Marvel, for example. This movie also depicts flying in jets, but unlike Top Gun Maverick, it's mostly done in CGI. There's no real impact. It looks like she's just sitting in a chair simulating the experience of going at insane speeds. There isn't that extra imperfection in these scenes that truly ground it. It takes a lot of effort to doing these things practically, and it goes from hard work to plain tedium. But after seeing the final results, the efforts the filmmakers and actors took were definitely worth it. But practicality isn't the only requirement to have an enjoyable flight scene. Henry Cavill's first take to the sky is one of the best moments in all of the DCEU, and it signified DC's quick rise in the superhero market, and unfortunately the equally quick fall as well. Not knowing how to fly, we see our hero Clark jump as hard as he can to build up speed, and with each successive jump, we see him stay in the air longer and longer until he's no longer jumping. He goes from this uncertainty and you can quickly see it transform into excitement. My favorite part of this whole sequence is this little hand grab he does as he rushes through the clouds. It's such a nice little touch. And it shows Superman flying with childlike wonder that is so often absent in this dark and gritty DCEU. Once he finds his way, he's able to zip through the oncoming scenery, and the way it's shot makes the moment so amazing. We're not just getting static shots of flights, but instead the camera is actively panning and attempting to focus on our speedy hero. This adds to his speed and his agility even at such heights, and it makes us believe that he truly is the Man of Steel. But what about the Man of Iron? Oof, maybe I'll cut that from the video. Now let's move on to my personal favorite movie in the MCU. The first time Iron Man suits up to fly for an extended period of time is a phenomenal showing. The montage preceding this builds up our expectation for a fully formed Iron Man suit and a fully functioning flight sequence, and it does not disappoint. Showing the instability one would expect when first learning to fly is a detail that adds to the realistic depiction of a man in a titanium gold alloy suit flying across the night sky. One of the smartest decisions with the Iron Man character is showing RDJ's face behind the mask. His excitement, fear, and utter joy is not lost behind this cold metal exterior. I can go on and on, but pretty much everything I liked about Man of Steel's flight sequence applies to Iron Man's as well. The main difference is that Iron Man's flight sequence feels very smooth and in control, for the most part, whereas Clark's feels very rough and intense. But both are great depictions in their own way. Alright, let's get away from the US and move on to the Isle of Berk. This wet heap of rock packs more than a few surprises, and one of those surprises includes a fairly scrawny kid named Hiccup and his best friend Toothless. Toothless, whose design is based on a Black Panther, a bat, and a little bit of Stitch. They look pretty similar, right? Is a dragon who had his tail clipped in an earlier accident. This scene is the first time Toothless and Hiccup show that they are working together, and what starts out with a very simple and calming flight turns into one of chaos. What leads to this disaster is Hiccup loses his cheat sheet while trying to go higher and higher because he got cocky. Honestly, sounds like another character that I know. Due to that previous mistake, Hiccup and Toothless find themselves on this treacherous path, and Hiccup has to rely on his own instincts to lead them both to safety. From bumping into rocks to weaving in and out of danger, this scene picks up the tension with each passing moment. And instead of having a character just riding on top of a dragon, we see Hiccup actively steering and assisting due to Toothless's handicap. The speed and bird-like movement really shine in making a believable and exciting interpretation of riding on the back of this incredibly cute but extremely dangerous Night Fury. And while the flying in and of itself is remarkable, it's the music that truly elevates this movie into otherworldly status. But due to copyright stuff, I think so, I'm not a lawyer, I won't be playing the music. This scenario is pretty similar to that of Big Hero 6 as well, which kind of makes sense, cause Big Hero 6's flying scene is pretty much if you replace Toothless with Iron Man. But where How to Train Your Dragon scenes get elevated by its soundtrack, Big Hero 6 gets elevated by its visuals. It looks so good. I've been having a love-hate relationship with the MCU the past few years. I loved WandaVision, hated Falcon and Winter Soldier, loved Loki, hated Black Widow, I loved half of Shang-Chi and hated the other half, and so on and so forth. But one thing I absolutely loved was the depiction of Namor's powers, especially his flying. Inspired by hummingbirds and helicopters apparently, Namor's flying is a unique and amazing depiction on the big screen. As opposed to the typical flying we see in most movies, Wakanda Forever moves in a completely different direction. Using his feet to depict his movements in the air, Namor glides through the air much like a hockey player and sometimes a long jumper. The only difference here is that he's a superpowered freak of nature. I love the way he changes his momentum by quickly whipping his feet in the other direction, the way he moves up and down in the blink of an eye, and the way his wings flap a mile a minute while he's hovering. All these details make for such a unique and enjoyable flight sequence. After looking at a few of these, it's pretty difficult to choose which one I think is the best one. The best visually is probably Man of Steel's and Black Panther's, whereas the most impressive is obviously Top Gun Maverick's. But I think the best overall experience for me personally has to be How to Train Your Dragons. There are countless movies that showcase flying in one way or another, and I know there are a bunch I haven't mentioned, but the ones I talked about in this video are quite possibly my favorite versions. Again, please let me know down below which ones are your favorites, and I'll be sure to check them out. And the whole YouTube spiel, please like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.